figure above, solve for x. So here we can see that in this diagram, it's very you may be thinking it's really complicated. Why are there angles and links? So how do we solve for x? So we have something called SOHCAHTOA. So SOH means this is the sun sign. And then O is the opposite angle, and H is the hypotenuse. And again, this one, H is also the hypotenuse, A is the adjacent. So A is also the adjacent here, and O is also the opposite. So first, we need to identify which is hypotenuse, which is opposite, and which is adjacent. So remember, every time we see a diagram like this, the adjacent is always the two angles right beside each other. So this is the adjacent. And the hypotenuse, we all know already. Using the Pythagoras theorem, we know that the hypotenuse is exactly the opposite of the right angle. So the x is the hypotenuse. And then, last but not least, we have opposite. The opposite is 50. This one is the opposite. Now, how do we identify opposite? It is always opposite from the angle, not right angle. Remember, it is an angle, but not a right angle. So the opposite side of right angle is hypotenuse, but the opposite of just a normal angle is the opposite side. So remember, the opposite of right angle is hypotenuse. The opposite of a normal angle is opposite. So I hope I'm not really confusing you guys right now. So anyway, here, should we use the SOH, the SAW, or should we use the KA method or the TOA method? Now, how do we know which one to use? So here we know that we have a hypotenuse. We're given a hypotenuse and the opposite. So here, which one shows the hypotenuse and the opposite? SAW, because there's O and H, opposite and hypotenuse. The others, there are no opposite and hypotenuse. So we're using the sign. So SIN, sign. And when we do this sign, it is always 70 degrees. It is always the degree equals what is SOH? Now SOH, it means OH means O divided by H. So opposite, which is 50, divided by H, which is X. So now we just solve for X. So in this type of equation, we must always use a calculator because there is a sign. You cannot really use your brain to do it. You must use a calculator so that it's faster. So normally I would use a calculator to solve the sign. So here we have X. So how do we solve for X? So just think of sine 70 is just the normal number. So normally we would do 50 is equal to, 50 is equal to sine 70 degrees. 50 sine 70 degrees X. Now I want to leave X alone, so 50 divided by sine 70 degrees. So we do that on the calculator. 5 divided by sine 70, which is, x is equal to 5.32089. And we can just simplify that to three significant figures. So 5.32 is our answer.